I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Hello and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. I get the distinct honor of introducing you to extraordinary women. And by extraordinary, what I mean is these women have stepped into a field of possibility and potentiality where they bring their gifts. They're change makers, they're way showers. They're inviting us to remember that we are here to do great things and that the divine feminine is needed on this planet more than ever. So I get to interview them and I always walk away feeling inspired and uplifted and joyous. And I promise you, you'll have the same experience. We come every week. We're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon. We're on video on YouTube. And please subscribe, share the videos with your friends. Keep coming back because each woman has taken a step in their lives to make a difference on this planet. I really believe this is a time for women emerging, and that the more that we can stand up and step out and bring our gifts, the more that we can accelerate the transformation of this planet, which is needed. I'm thinking that more love, more light is definitely needed. So you can also go to cynthiajames.net. There's lots of stuff there for you, gifts, and you can join my online community. So I want to introduce you to Brandy Gillmore. She is pioneering new breakthrough research and achieving incredible healing results that are capturing the attention of researchers, doctors, and scientists worldwide. Her new book is Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body. And there's this thing that says it may seem physically impossible to relieve chronic pain within minutes using only the mind. However, Brandy has been able to consistently demonstrate this process and has been filmed and documented these results under medical thermal imaging. What I want you to know is that she has been featured in a health medical journal. She's got a TEDx talk, and she's been in several documentaries and docuseries, including On a Scale of 0 to 10, Pain Revealed, Women's Health Secrets. I am so honored that she is here. I just want to tell you the thing about her book. It says in the foreword, written by neurologist Dr. David Perlmutter. He's a 5-time New York Times bestseller. And this is what he says about her book. Essential reading for both those receiving care as well as those who provide it. And for the latter, this book fills the gaps that our education might have inadvertently overlooked. Okay, hello.
A profound comment. And I have to say, it's such an honor to be here. I just absolutely adore you, and more love and light and women bringing it forward. Yes, yes, and yes. So thank you so much for having me. And it's an honor. Thank you.
Well, I'm so excited to talk about your work, but I want to start with your beginning. You probably didn't drop on the planet and say, well, I'm going to change science and history. Where were you born and what was it like?
Where was I born? And well, that's an interesting question. So I was actually born in Southern California, and I have five siblings, four siblings. There's 5 of us. And what was it like? It was all over the place. It depends on the year. It depends on the time. Just, I would say, gosh, that's a really good question. Most of the time everybody says, okay, where did your injury start? What happened? And that's where a lot of times people go. And I have to say, I grew up Lutheran. I grew up Lutheran with a regular family in some ways and a very not normal family. My family saying growing up was, we put the fun in dysfunctional. So It was fun and it was dysfunctional and it was Lutheran and it was all over the place. It's just, you know. So, but I would say it's so funny because who I am today is such a radically different person than I ever thought that. I mean, even what I do today and helping people to use the mind to heal their body, I would have thought was impossible. I used to do, prior to my injury, about 21 years ago, I had an accident. So that was my accident and a car accident and a fall. But at that time, I did network engineering and operations, and everything was, basically as I got injured, I started looking for healing. And when the doctor said they couldn't heal me, that was pivotal. It's like a wake up call.
Wow. Okay. So, so here you are, and they can't heal you. What was your first thought?
Well, my first thought was, it's kind of like the whole, let me talk to your manager type of. But it was like, I need the next best doctor. And, let me get a second opinion. Let me get a 10th opinion. How about a 50th opinion? I went, just trying to find something. I had to have hope. I would literally leave each doctor's office because, I was wheelchair, walker, cane. I was a mess on morphine. I mean, my entire life changed. And I would choke back the tears and be like, but there's got to be some referral, just somebody. And I would not leave until they gave me some type of referral somewhere. And long story short, when that didn't work, I finally kept asking and asking. And then we go to this research hospital where 2, 3, 4 doctors at a time would come into the room. They'd evaluate you, try to make a plan. And it kept going. And then I got into this research study and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to get my life back. And I counted down the days to that study, and the day came and they wheeled me into the hospital in my wheelchair and got me all prepped for this procedure. And I thought, I'm going to get my life back. This is it. And a long story short, the doctor, he comes in and he looks at me and he goes, Miss Gillmore, we don't expect you to heal. We don't expect this to work. You can't be a part of the study. And I felt like I swallowed a tennis ball. Like I was trying to choke back the tears, not doing a very good job at it. But something profound happened from that. Is first and foremost, after that, I did not want to live. I was like, I'm done. There's just no point. But then I had this voice or this thought come into my mind that was like, well, what about the placebo? And it sent me on this entire journey to say, wait a second, because in any study, there's the real treatment and then there's a fake treatment, the placebo. And there's a known fact, research study after study after study has shown that people can get results from a fake treatment. And it sent me on this journey trying to figure out, how does it work?
Wow. So, well, first of all, I remember Joe Dispenza talking about something similar, and they're like, no, you're going to have this thing in your spine and you're never going to walk and all of this. So you started researching placebo, which connects to the mind.
Yes, but it was different than I thought, because initially, I thought that it just works because you believe it. So you just have to believe that you're healed. And then like I was getting into metaphysics and all this stuff. And so I was meditating every day and doing affirmations and visualizing myself healed and forcing myself to believe. And it wasn't working. And I thought, I'm believing, but I'm believing. And so then I found something called the open label placebo, which is exactly like it sounds. It is open label. Both the doctor and the patient both know it's fake, and it still works. And I was like, wait a second. Clearly, it's not all about belief if that still works. And then I found other things like people with multiple personality disorder can have different illnesses when they're in different personalities. They can have high blood pressure in one and normal in another. They can have pain in one and not in another. And there was this case that I found of a woman who had been blind for 15 years, who started through therapy getting her eyesight back, but in some personalities, she was blind, and some personalities she could see. I was like,
oh, wow. Okay. I just got to get my mind back in, because that's amazing.
Uh-huh. It's medical journal after medical journal. And something else that was fascinating was this. is it the same personality always has the same illness? So in other words, let's say there's a person named Jane, like the host personality, as they call it, was Jane. But let's say Jane has no health issues, but then if she's Susan, she could have always headaches. And then if, let's say, she's Barbara, she might always have neck pain and asthma or allergies, like incurable things. And it's medically documented. It's not that, like the woman who was blind, it's not like she was making up that she was blind. Like they actually did brain scans. And so,
Wow.
fascinating.
Yeah, well, really? Okay. So you start gathering all this information. What was the pivotal moment when you said, there's something here that can heal me?
I mean, everything kept pointing to the mind. I would say I had so many pivotal moments, because even another one was this, is that I had been, meditating and affirmation, all the binaural beats and the frequencies, all of the things, which can all be really, really, really great things. But it wasn't working. It wasn't healing. And I had been doing it for like 5 years. And it wasn't working. And I would say a pivotal moment was this, is that a friend of mine, her aunt was passing from lung cancer. And she asked me if I wanted to say goodbye. And I said, yes, of course. And so she picked me up and she took me over there. And as I went to say goodbye, there was this woman who had been doing all the affirmations and the positive thinking, all of the things. And not only that, but she had been in hospice. So she was, in and out of consciousness. And I thought to myself, gosh, this is probably what I look like, because I spent so many hours just trying to maintain this like deep state of theta state, to relax, to meditate, to, to heal. And I thought, it jarred me. It's like, I have to do something radically different. Here was this person that I love passing and going, but she's doing all the things. And it just was like, well, I have to do something different than this radical state of calm, healing, like, and all that stuff can be great. But what I started doing is I said, I have to understand it. And I looked at it objectively and I said, okay, we know that stress affects the body. We know the person with multiple personality disorder. We know placebo. We know nocebo. So everything was pointing at the mind. And I said, how do I make this really simple? Okay, well, emotions affect the body. If somebody's embarrassed, their face turns red. Panic attack, racing heart, shortness of breath, or broken heart syndrome. Somebody can die of a broken heart. And even studies suggest that autoimmune conditions can even be caused by stress. And so, or even, we've all heard somebody say, oh my God, calm down, you're going to have a heart attack, or you're going to give yourself a stroke. Right? We've all heard that before, but we don't take it seriously. And so that's what I started doing, is I did look at it objectively. So another pivot was this, is I started looking at it objectively and saying, okay, but let's be honest. There are people who are very stressed who aren't sick. They have PTSD or trauma, and there are others who are happy who are sick. How does that work? And what I began to figure out, and this was another pivot for me, a huge awareness, was it was a certain combination of emotions. And right, that was key. And that was a breakthrough. And that's how I could see how it was possible for somebody with multiple personality disorder to have different ailments and different personalities, because the combinations change. And the analogy I kind of use for it is, if you want to make cake and you have flour, then you can't make cake. But if you have flour and you mix it with other ingredients, you can make a cake. And then if you make different ingredients, you have a different recipe. And that's how I started understanding the mind in a different way.
Well, that is so interesting, because the work I do with my clients is emotional integration. Having them start to understand that whatever is going on isn't just from the head up. It's like what's happening in the body. And so what was the process you used to, because you're not in a wheelchair now. You're, you're, you're I mean, so
I can run. I have no pain at all. I've been healthy for 14 years now, no issues, and yeah, just great. I started to look at emotions in a different way. Also, I would say that, I mean, so many things, but I would say one is this: is of course understanding that we have patterned ways of thinking and feeling, and really eradicating not just the emotion, but the emotional pattern. And so one way to think about that is if we look at, maybe attachment theory. We've heard before. We know that a woman can have, unfortunately, an abusive father, leave him, and find the abusive boyfriend, boss, spouse, etc. Unfortunately, we can have so much compassion, but that's how patterns work. We have patterns of maybe guilt or feeling bad or self-punishment or hurt or abandonment or reject, whatever that is. And it's about really repatterning the mind at a deeper level. And I would say that's a key. Also, the awareness, our emotions actually amplify our energy. And a lot of times people think energy is just like a woo-woo concept. But it was actually the gentleman who discovered it in the medical science world, a medical scientist, was actually nominated for a Nobel Prize 11 times for discovering energy from the body. And most people don't even realize it. And there's even current studies in the database. There's a database that's maintained by NASA that it's under the NASA agreement. But my point being is just, it's like you said, you do emotional integration. Emotions are so much more than we realize, and they're connected to our energy, and they're also connected to our consciousness. And so another thing that is really pivotal towards getting results is that we have to make the emotions shift, and it needs to be really strong. And this is the reason why. Is if we think about somebody who's really, really, really in love, what do they see in a person? They see all the good. If somebody's really upset or hurt or feeling wounded by somebody, what do they see? They fault find in that person. The brain does that automatically. And our consciousness. So beyond that is if we're in fear, we see with fear, but we don't realize it. We may see the world as being a fearful place, but we don't realize it. And so what happens is, to make the change, we have to amplify the emotions and make them very strong and get them into our subconscious mind, so much so that they actually start to shift our lens of life. And that's what's key, because now it's an automatic thing. So that's a huge pivot. And that's even when I take people under medical equipment and show them how to release pain. That's what I'm doing, is I'm shifting their mindset, their emotions, and their perception, so their lens of life is changing.
Well, I think this is so important. People don't realize that their frequency, affects a field where whatever they enter into, we're radiating energy. So I want to talk about your book, because there's a little bit of a leap from being in the bed and them telling you you're not going to heal to, I mean, okay, I don't know if you call yourself a healer, but I'm going to call you a healer because that's what you do. And, to move from that state where people are saying you are not going to get better, to not only getting well yourself, but using that information to help people heal, and then document it in a way that's in a book, but also you can see the images. Oh, what was the bridge there?
After I healed myself, I never saw myself as doing this as a job. I mean, my injury was 20 years ago. I've been so I just wanted to hand it off. I thought if everybody knew about this, everybody would want to heal. Nobody's going to be stuck and be told that they have no future. And so I just wanted to hand it off. And then, of course, I realized that people don't really believe you can heal with the mind, of course. And I wouldn't have, my skeptic would have been like, this is impossible. And so I wanted to show people. So I started showing people. And then they started and showing them how to release pain, and they could get results. And then I started being asked to speak. And then I started doing it from stage. And then I thought to myself, gosh, one day people are going to think this is fake. Like, this is a plant. It can't really, like, somebody has neck pain. Oh, their neck pain is suddenly gone. Then I was like, well, I have to show it under medical equipment. And then I did. And then I was asked to give a TEDx talk. And then it's just kind of been this thing of wanting to just show people we can all do this. And it's just, that's what it stemmed from. I was going to okay, well, let me just show people that it works. And it's just led to one thing after another that grew into this amazing, incredible journey of showing people and leading classes and doing all of these incredible things that just to just show, to prove, like, and that's what's also fun about the book is that you can see it makes logical sense. And that's what I love is, being former network engineer, operations, all of that. When something makes sense, it's easier to implement. And that's the reason I've also been able to get back to back to back results and demonstrations is because of that.
Well, yeah. And the fact that you have an engineer's mind, you could open to, so what does this research mean and how can it expand? And it's so interesting that, okay, this is a little woo-woo, so I'm just going to say it out loud, that your soul decided to come now when there was the technology that you could evidence what you were doing. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother took me to see this woman who was a healer, a little tiny woman called Catherine Kuhlman, and she's up on this stage and she's healing people and people are getting out of wheelchairs and there's all this stuff going on. And at that time it was like, oh yeah, they're all plants, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But, but
Yes.
but you're here and you can document it so people who have that skeptic within them can go, oh, but look at that. Is your book on Audible too?
It is on Kindle and you can listen to it on Kindle. So there's
Okay.
yes, because my schedule was so full that I said, let me just do. The other thing is the publisher talked to me about doing Audible and maybe we'll do it at some point. But what I love is that there are brain scans, some pictures in there that you can see. And also I think it's important to, I like to read it, to be able to see it. I think that that's really powerful because, when we start to look at energy and we start to then understand how it works, this is how I feel is that the more everybody understands it, that's what we need to make a real change. And, like it's written in the Bible 3,000 years ago, a merry heart is a medicine to the body. Ill thoughts will dry the bones. 3,000 plus years ago, it's written. And here we are 3,000 years later, illness is increasing. People are not healing. We have stress, depression, all of these things. Like, when are we going to use this to wake up, to heal ourselves, to change? And so, of course, we need to know how to do it, how to get real results. It's not just about positive thinking, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, but even in the medical journal that I just was published in last year, where I did it under medical equipment, the last volunteer that I worked with, he stood up afterwards and he took his pain from a level 6 to a level 0 in like 28 minutes. And the first thing he said, wow, I'm shocked that even worked. I just came from a 10-day meditation retreat and a positive thinking seminar right before that. And he was shocked. And I said, yes, that's because we're targeting the specific emotions and changing those. And that is a huge key, is that. And so understanding what is a specific thing and changing that was really important. So my point is just that I would love for our generation to be the generation that figures it out, that understands we can do this and makes it a new norm. And so I think that the more that everybody understands it and can do it, the better,
Yeah, and I got a little tickle in my throat. But the thing I want to talk too, I want to say that is my desire too. And I'm hoping that people, because I grew up really poor, the people who have extenuating circumstances can get to your information so that they can understand possibility.
Mhm.
I just think that what you're doing is amazing. I don't know where my voice is going, but oh well. Um, so tell me how people find you, how they find your work, how they find your book.
Can I tell you, love, that's exactly, as I was going through my injury, like that's exactly what I had hoped for. And the funny thing is so when I got better, I thought, well, I just want to write a book and just share with everybody on how to do it. And then the publisher, of course, was like, but honey, you don't have an audience. And so the next day I started my podcast and I was like, now I will have an audience. And and then I would just take volunteers who had pain and start coaching them. That's all I do is I'll take volunteers who have pain and show them how to do it, because I just want to show people. And so that's it. That is my hope too, is that everybody can understand and also change their life circumstances, from poverty or hardship to improving every area of their life. And so I'm sorry, you mentioned that from your heart, and I just feel your heart, and you're just beautiful. So I just had to speak to that. But
Thank you so much. Okay, so how do we find you?
my website is brandygillmore.com, and Gillmore is GILLMORE.com. And my book is on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or anywhere books are sold.
Great. And is there a website, or is there someplace other than, is it just Brand? Oh, it is. You just said that, brandygillmore.com. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Or on all the social channels or that, but yeah, the website is good.
so,
Or, who knows? You might find me hanging out with Cynthia. I'll be
well, that would make my heart smile. I'm just saying.
That would make mine too. Last time I saw you, beautiful, it was just, you give the best hugs. It was just sweet.
Thank you so much. So I asked the same last question of every ghost. Isn't that interesting? Guest on this show. The show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet in this moment?
The most? You mean just one? Just one? So if I make up a word that goes everything from care to the planet to politics and everywhere in between, and heart, and also just the awakening of every soul, of realizing that there has been a type of, we've been, historically speaking, born to believe that we're inferior or less than. We've also been born to believe that we need somebody else to care for us, so somebody else is our safety because we are weaker, we are inferior, we're not as smart or as capable. Like I would say there's change on the inside, and then there's also, there's so many things. I would say our planet gets a bigger heartbeat when we have the love and the kindness, and not to say that men can't have a heartbeat also. I think the more our culture values that kindness and the nurturing and the heartbeat and the awareness and the intuitive, the more it's just all part of the transformation.
Absolutely. And if you're just listening to this podcast and you can't see, what Brandy exhibits is joy and light. And I think it comes from your healthy mind, and that you are in high service to humanity. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And I think what Cynthia emanates is love and care and compassion, and just this beautiful, beautiful glow and beautiful heart. So thank you.
All right, ladies, I'm going to close this show the way I do every week, with a different set of words. I want to remind you that you're spectacular. I want to remind you that you are a masterpiece in the making, and that your health and your well-being and your joy and your freedom and your light are essential. You're on this planet at this moment for a reason. So whatever it takes for you to get healthy, strong, vibrant, and bring your gifts to this planet, run. Do not waste one more moment, because we're waiting for you. I love you, and I'll see you next time.